Location, location, location. Star Trader needed a headquarters, a main office. Or did it? Is that actually the second question? I think the first question is whether we should have an office at all. Okay, in order to walk through what our thought process was, let's start off with 60 seconds about Star Trader and then ask ourselves the question why we need an office and then where that office should be. It's quite a fun thing. Star Trader serves 5 billion people out of 8 billion people with its Forex services. We're based in Dubai. That's where our headquarters are. That's where I am right now. Why? Well, meeting people remains really important. When we have disagreements, little ones and big ones, if we trust each other, it's so much easier to solve those things. If I do something which is clumsy and wrong, then you can have a little bit of oversight if you know that my underlying intent is good, and vice versa. So that, and when it comes to solving problems, there are a lot of problems where if you can share some of your understanding with me, I can solve a whole bunch of problems for you so that you don't need to worry about them, and vice versa. If there's something that I know, if I can share that with you, you can crack a whole bunch of problems without them ever landing in front of me. So shared understanding, I think, is really, really important. Shared understanding of each other and shared understanding about the future business environment in which we operate or will operate, and shared understanding about all the relationships that make up every business. I'd really like to underline those two words, shared understanding. I think, to me, when we celebrate the differences between the diverse people in our company, the reason we can celebrate that without fear is because we have a shared understanding about the things that are good. Now, we have some challenges coming. 2023 has changed everything because this is the year that AI surfaced into the mainstream. It's a revolution, not short of a revolution. And I'd like to take this picture here as an example thereof. With AI, the online perception of everything we see can be created, edited, and deleted. Nothing is as it seems. It's not obvious unless we see it ourselves. That picture is a good example. I just showed you a picture where most of it is fake. The background of the picture was that we had the picture on the top left and we quite liked it. So we ran it through Adobe's latest AI software, and AI automatically filled in the rest. So you can see on the right-hand side of this picture that AI actually generated a couple of different backgrounds for us. A door on the right, pillars on the left. Most of the things on this picture are therefore actually not real. That window on the right does not exist. How does that relate to us? Well, it relates to us very much. I think we've all been in situations where we have video conferences going on and we turn off the camera because we're getting our tie right or something else. In some situations, maybe someone calls us halfway through a video conference and cameras off, turn off the microphone, do the other call, do them in parallel, continue, and so forth. Now, that is a little bit tricky because that's almost like two versions of us working at the same time. We're doubly using our time. And that becomes tricky also from the perspective of, hey, when I'm working with my colleagues, is my colleague working full-time with me, or is my colleague doing something else in parallel? if my colleague is doing something else in parallel, then maybe I'm losing out. Maybe I should be doing something else in parallel as well. Maybe I should be doing two things in parallel. Maybe all of the people on this picture are me. In the online world, that's doable. That can be done. I could rent out my behavior. I could rent out how I think. I could rent out how I look, so that other people can operate as if they were me. Now that sounds really far out, and it's not. Let's look at what Microsoft is doing right now. This is not a demo. This is the real thing. Look at the top right. In the top right, we have a WhatsApp message. And that WhatsApp message says, hast du eigentlich den unterschriebenen Vertrag von mir bekommen? Okay, so that can be automatically recognized as German, and given the full context of the conversation that I've had with Max, that can be translated in a manner which is accurate. Don't translate just the sentence, translate the sentence in the context. And this is OpenAI territory, Google Bard territory. So you can actually get a translation where it says, have you actually received the signed contract from me, with a high degree of belief that this is right. Now, if you then take that and you take that question and you bounce it against the Microsoft graph that describes you, with all your emails, all the meetings that you will have, that you have had, contact details, files, chats, calendar, everything else, then it's possible for Microsoft to enrich the question with all of the context to get a fantastic answer to the question. And Azure OpenAI then receives a full response to this, checks with the Microsoft graph to see what should be done next. Okay, so now we have Microsoft automatically getting a full response for what the right course of action is to this question. Previously, with similar situations, I typically, for this type of interaction with this type of person, what I typically do is read through the contract, look for some particular types of risks, reps and warranties, that types of contractual risk. Based on that, if everything looks clean enough, I sign it and move forward. And when I sign it and move forward, I make a PDF document and I email that to the person fully signed, and I also follow up with a WhatsApp message saying that, look, I've done it by now. Okay, now this is something that Microsoft can do automatically for me, i.e. An appropriately worded WhatsApp message is generated and an email is sent out automatically. Alles in Ordnung, schon getan, danke, with a smiley. That's my style when I speak German. Amazing. I didn't even touch that. Max sent me a WhatsApp message, and Microsoft did everything for me based on the way that I behave, based on my Microsoft graph. Now, instead of me operating this, I could just hand you my complete environment. On my PC, I have every document that I've worked on since 1998. That goes a long way back. This shows my behavior. I could rent that to you. You can behave like me if you want to. How many times have you said to a colleague, what would you do? Well, now instead of doing that, I can just receive a question, check what one particular Microsoft graph would respond, and based on that, refine the response. I can be an expert. I could automate that. I could perform multiple roles at once. I could act both like my friend Mohammed, like my friend Yedu, and like my friend Max, all at the same time. Bing, bing, bing. So that's why we need an office, because we need to know who we are. We don't know who we are unless we can actually physically see each other. Certainly, if someone has the camera off, we certainly don't know who we are. We'll have to cut there. After that, we come to the question of, all right, how should we think about the office? Okay, first of all, for whom is it? Who is the person who's going to be using this office? If you and I meet in a cafe, then you might ask me, where are you from? Okay, and I could give you a city name. And I could ask you, where do you work? And you could tell me a company name. Now we're getting more acquainted with each other. You could ask me, which online game do you play? And you could identify me as a Clash of Clans person. And I could ask you, what do you like to trade? Is it gold or forex? And do you work as an IB or do you work as a trader? So a couple of different planets in order to identify each other. Now, if we're thinking about the cities that we're interested in, then we need to think about those from the same perspective. So which cities do people want to be associated with? The most difficult thing when you run a global brokerage is to find the right talent for your business. So this talent, where does it want to be? Where does it identify? If we are who we think we are, and that's got to do with where we live. This is an identity question very much. And there are many fantastic cities we could go for. Chongqing is one with 30 million people. London is where I spent most of my life, although I live in Dubai now. Many opportunities, many places we could go to. So how do we rank these things? Well, let's turn it upside down. What have the cities ever done for us? Well, they've done a lot for us. There are a couple of cities on the right-hand side here, fabulous cities. These cities compete for millennials. They compete to attract people into them. They compete to attract talent, and Star Trader also competes to attract the best employees. Of course, also the best customers. Now, we have 4 billion out of 8 billion, nearly, who live in the world at the moment. We have 4 billion in cities out of the 8 billion in total. By the year 2050, we will have 6 billion people living in cities out of a total of 10 billion people on this planet. So an increase because of life stretching out of 2 billion people. These 2 billion people will generate approximately $9.8 trillion of annual tax revenues. That's a lot of money. That's worth playing for. $9.8 trillion annual tax revenues. So these cities that you see on the right-hand side of this slide are all actively competing in order to attract that revenue, in order to attract those human beings to come and live in their cities. And in the year 2050, the biggest taxpayers are the millennials of today. So those are the targets. So how do we attract those millennials? That's a key question. And to do that, these cities compete with the best careers, the best nightlife, security, housing, equal rights, health visas, education, everything else, sport, freedom, romance, sustainable living. All of these are huge things that are important for the millennial generations. And when we select a headquarters, which is hopefully going to be our headquarters for 10, 20, 30 years forward, we need to think about this. So which of these cities will be best place to attract the type of people we want? To put some numbers behind that, we did a delta view. We looked at where these cities are heading, not where these cities are, but where they're heading. We looked at the change in population, which cities are growing. We looked at the change in GDP per capita, which cities are growing in that sense or not. We looked at the change in real estate prices and change in office vacancy rates in order to understand from a millennial standpoint which cities are attractive because they are dynamic, they are moving, they are changing, they're moving in a direction that the millennials identify with and the millennials want to be part of. That's how we thought about it. And furthermore, from a company standpoint, we looked at it from a people perspective first, talent, quality of life, education, infrastructure. It's nice for us to sit in a pretty place, but if we can't spend time with our customers, with the people who pay our salaries, then it's all pointless. So travel is key. Access to superb connectivity and technology is key. The talent is never going to come to us unless they can afford to buy a home or rent a home, unless we can have an office which is affordable and nice. All of those things need to be nice and safe and secure. Security is a big thing. Operations, we operate 24/7. Now 24/7 means that in a diverse workforce which contains people of all types, they need to be able to walk in and out of the office at 4 o'clock in the morning and feel comfortable. That's not easy. Many cities don't live up to that. We need predictability. We can't have sudden tax hikes or changes like that. We need to know what's going to come next. And of course, the overall cost of operation needs to be reasonable. So again, those are things that we thought heavily about. In the chart on the right, you can see that Dubai has a negative change in GDP per capita, which is understandable because the people who have established themselves here previously are now being diluted by people who are coming in and are about to grow their wealth, whereas they didn't have that wealth before. So the GDP per capita change is not an obvious parameter. You need to understand it, but this is, in our opinion, this has been a useful tool for us to understand the types of places that are around. So let's look at the countries. No, let's look at the cities. I don't care about the countries. Let's look at the cities. Singapore has always been one of my favorite places on the planet. It's wonderful. Great jazz music by people like many people down by the waterside. And only 5 hours from Chongqing and Bengaluru by air. So it's really well connected to many other marketplaces that we serve. Really, really nice. The innovation culture in Singapore is good. Level of technology is good. Companies like Grab and Shopee come from Singapore. And of course, if you've lived in Thailand or Vietnam, these are things that you use every day for convenience. So yeah, a lot of innovation, very high technology, very predictable. It's a great place to live. Singapore is super. If you haven't been there, I warmly recommend it. It's a great thing. And if you do end up hearing the keyboard player Gareth Pearson down in one of the bars, then you're a lucky person, because that's a real pleasure too. Cairo, not what you would have expected perhaps on a list of top cities, but for me it absolutely is. It's a vibrant city. You see it even from companies like A15, which has invested big amounts of money into online advertising businesses. A lot of online advertising capability in Cairo. Those companies are typically inhabited by people who are 30, 40, maybe a little bit older, but primarily they skew younger. very tech savvy. They certainly understand how to do interstitials on YouTube and so forth. If you like good coffee and delicious food, it's a good place to be. Cairo is certainly on the map. On the negative side, pollution. It's not clean. So it has some big drawbacks as well. And traffic is a problem. It's a mess. People driving all over the place. So it has its pluses and minuses, but certainly from my perspective, Cairo is going in firmly the right direction, and it's a great city in which to base a company. Miami sounds like a surprise, but it's not. Go there and check out what young companies are doing. You have educational technology companies like Nearpod coming out of there. If you talk to the teachers who use Nearpod in order to teach their students, those teachers will not move away from Nearpod. It's such a good product. That is typical for the type of startups you get out of Miami. You even see pet food startups and online pet food startups heading up towards being potentially unicorn companies. Great lifestyle, go offshore, do some deep sea stuff, go into the Everglades, get eaten by a crocodile. No, crocodile, the alligators over there, those little things, but they're still nasty. Go down to the Keys. It's a good place to be. Miami is certainly on the radar. Good language skills, both English and Spanish. I like Miami a lot. Taipei, gotta be on the map. Definitely has to be on the map. I like to play tennis at the American club on the north side of the river. But in Taipei, you find companies like Gogoro with their electric online scooters, replaceable batteries. These are scooters where typically you end up with, you drive your scooter at full speed, and when you run out of fuel, you just swap out the battery and keep going. You can have multiple batteries yourself. Alternatively, you go to a place who does the battery swap. Definitely next generation. Finding highly educated people in Taipei is the default. It's difficult to find people who are not highly educated. It's a really top city to live in. Love it. Absolutely love Taipei. Bengaluru or Bangalore. I typically say Bangalore because I speak English, but if you go with the locals, so it's certainly Bengaluru. Well, 20 years ago, companies were outsourcing bits of software to India, scraps of software that they needed to get built. Not true anymore. Those have consolidated into Infosys, which is now one of the finest software companies in the world. And you see it in entrepreneurship all over the place. Baiju for educational technology, which is different from the other one that we looked at in Miami. This is focused on students. These guys make it easy for students to learn quickly. Really, really, really good. Very well thought through. Nightlife, obviously very, very good. People in India know how to party, and if you have a couple of absolutely top universities, then they need to let out steam, and they definitely do. So locating a top business in Bangalore puts you in a position where you have access to fantastic talent. It's a good place to be. If I would live in Bangalore, I would put on 30% of weight, I guarantee it, because the food is excellent. I have a couple of friends from Karachi who say that the biryani in Karachi is better than in Bengaluru. I must admit that the best biryani I've ever had is a Karachi biryani. I've lost some friends in Bengaluru now, but so be it. I'm happy to say that people in Bengaluru have a good sense of humor, and they need it because their cricket team is like Tottenham Hotspur at football. All the other top clubs have trophy rooms where the trophies go, and you have a trophy cabinet. Bangalore's cricket team is like Spurs. They have a room and they have a cabinet, but not a trophy room. It's tough, but cricket is fun. IPL is incredible. So Bangalore is a great place to be. I'll warmly recommend it. San Francisco has always been in my heart. I love San Francisco on a personal level. I think it's a wonderful place. You drive for an hour to go up to Sacramento, lots of different types of soil, lots of different grapes, and consequently many hundred vineyards with distinctive wines to enjoy. Take an Uber because I don't want to recommend anything that's bad by driving back from Sacramento. Drive down south for 2 hours, you get to Monterey, you can go offshore fishing there. You can see orcas chasing humpback whales because there's a crack 6,000 meters deep. It's a very interesting place, so just fish for dinner and cook some wonderful fish in the morning. I think it's about 6 hours to Hollywood from San Francisco, 9 hours to Las Vegas if you want to burn some money. If you're desperate to get rid of your money, remember to keep enough money to pay for the fuel on the way back. You'll need that. It's still a 9-hour drive ahead of you. But San Francisco as a whole, bohemian, wonderful, home of so many fantastic companies. FANG is like home of San Francisco. You've got Meta, formerly Facebook. You've got Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Amazon, of course, is from Seattle, not from San Francisco. But it's in a decline, though. Central San Francisco, the pandemic has been unlucky. A lot of people started working from home. And they're not coming back, it seems. So 8.3% decline in top talent over the last year. So that's a really big negative. So right now, for me, San Francisco is a place where I will not put this business. I'm sorry, because it's in my heart. It's a great city. Kuala Lumpur. That is a real digital multilingual place. I sometimes feel that the best thing about Kuala Lumpur is to leave it. You can go up to beaches offshore, you can go snorkeling, you can go up on the mountains, go trekking. Interesting place. Watch the Formula One if you're a petrol head, if you don't care about the environment but just want to go. Yeah, okay, that's the right place to go. And Kuala Lumpur is, of course, the home of Karsten, which is the dominant place in the whole region for buying and selling cars. So if your Formula One car is looking a bit out of fashion, then stick it on Karsten, and maybe if you live in Bangkok, that's your next car. Could be fun. Of course, Bangkok's traffic is impossible, so you won't be able to go very fast in it, but you'll look good if it works. Great. So Kuala Lumpur is on the map. Twin Towers offices are great places to be in. I really like the place. It's good. It's good. Montevideo, definitely on the map. Multilingual, educated quality of life is so true about Montevideo. If you walk into an average cafe in Montevideo and grab everyone, and you check out what type of people you've just accidentally walked into, you will find people that are highly educated, up to speed, multilingual, not just Spanish or Castellano if you prefer, but Portuguese, English, very e-commerce savvy. D-Local is only one of many very good e-commerce companies to come out of Montevideo. This picture says it all. I mean, this is how you work. You can happily go through 12 hours working in that environment. I think you would agree with me. That's what Montevideo is all about. It's on the map as, in my opinion, one of the top cities in the world in order to place an office. A couple of downsides. If you'd like to pay a visit to Mexico City, then that's a 12-hour flight because you need to go via Buenos Aires or Rio de Janeiro to get up there. That's a bit of a pain, so some of the infrastructure is not perfect, so that's a negative. But as you can hear, Montevideo for me is on the map. It's a top place to be, wonderful. And we come to Dubai. Well, Dubai is committed to growth. Build it and they will come. The guts that people have expressed in building Dubai, wow, so impressive. 20 years ago, the city had, what, 1 million people? Now it's 11. Going 10 years ahead from here, it will double in size. Dubai is growing as quickly as it possibly can do. And because it's big already, it can grow quicker than it ever has done before. Dubai is a power hub. It's definitely moving forward. The startup scene is nascent, it's still growing, it's still coming. Some of it is happening already. I'd like to highlight Bayzat. It's a really nice little company. They've done some human resources software, which is used by companies in the full GCC area and beyond. They're expanding very quickly. Not the only company coming out of here. Dubai has to innovate. Dubai has to grow. It has no choice because Dubai doesn't have oil. Abu Dhabi has oil, but Dubai doesn't have oil. So as an emirate, Dubai has to stand on its own 2 feet in a different way. And it's doing it by doubling down, building the most innovative houses, the most crazy architecture, the biggest things, big, big, big. Obviously, from an environmental standpoint, things are built in a manner which is insane at best, but from a business standpoint, Dubai is really, really growing and really doing well. So I think it's an interesting thing to see how impressive it's been. I'd like to take you on a little trip. I'd like to take you 20 years backwards in time and just walk through what happened. This is 20 years. Just stay with me. I think you can see what impressed me about that. For me, that is quite a trip. We'll have to do a cut and slide over them. Great cities, well, we have to choose. We don't have a choice. We have to go somewhere. We've looked at some of my favorite cities in the world from a business standpoint just now, and you can see they are wonderful things. Hold on, I'll have to redo that because we have that request for access thing. Great cities. We have to move forward. We've decided that we definitely want an HQ, or we did do it. Great cities, but we have to choose. We decided that we wanted an HQ. I think we all agree why. Okay, let's move forward. Which one do we grab? We've seen a choice of fabulous cities where we could base the business. We selected Dubai. It was a tight race. We selected it because it's so easy to attract new people into Dubai from the surrounding countries. That's the differentiator that we found relative to the other countries, other cities that we were comparing with. Montevideo, Miami, Taipei, Cairo, Kuala Lumpur, Bangalore, Singapore. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous places, but we went for Dubai. And my big message to you is, based on that, come and visit us here in Dubai. Alternatively, regardless of which of these cities you're from, land on a planet, fly from your city into your standard account, into your cent account, into your ECN account. Try it all out. We serve all of these cities: Seoul, Cairo, Lagos, Tianjin. The world is filled with wonderful cities, and we are increasingly becoming city people. So talk to your dedicated account manager to get you set up with the right products so that you can move from where you are to where you want to go, and get comfortable. Here we are, we're working in this Dubai office, and we want to support you so that you can achieve your goals. Join us now. Thank you.